Hi, my name is Roope Hakulinen, and as mentioned, I'm here to represent Go4, the main sponsor for this event. So I will keep it really short so that you get to the panel as fast as possible. So, about Go4, we are a software consulting company specialized in planning and development of digital solutions and services. We have around 400 employees, most here in Finland. We have offices in Helsinki, Tampere and Jyväskylä, and then abroad in München, Swansea and Madrid. And we've done quite well in the Great Place to Work competition. We won the Finnish competition in the last year and were second in the European series. So what do we do? Well, we have 4 different sites: build, design, lead and cloud. Most of the people do work in the build section where we also do Angular, so that is the main thing. There are around 230 people working in the build sector, so quite many there. We do use Angular quite a lot, so we have around 15 different projects using Angular, Angular 2 at least, and a lot of projects using AngularJS also. We do have projects varying in size from 2 to 25 developers, and we started to use Angular in the January 2016, so when the first beta version came out. So some of our clients, maybe quite well-known companies there. We do quite a lot of business for the Finnish government, so 60% of our revenue comes from the public sector at the moment, and we've been growing quite a lot lately on the private sector too. So quite many different clients. The biggest project that we have about Angular is the Voith, a German company that we've been working with for quite long now. There are currently 25 people working with Angular and a lot more doing some other stuff in the project also. And we are hiring in all locations that we have. We are hiring all kinds of developers with all levels of experiences. You don't need to be Angular guru to come to work for us. We also do hire junior positions. And right now we have a little bonus for you. So if you sign a contract before the end of June, you will get 1,500 euros of shares. Okay, that's it for me. So now I would like to introduce our panel's host. So John Papa, please come here.
There's too many people on stage. Hi. Hello.
Okay, great, welcome. And I do also have a first question for you guys. So here it comes. So how do you see the future of the ngRx store? Should it be integrated into Angular Core like the Angular CLI was done?
That's a great question.
John, as a moderator, you are free to pass this question to someone who raised the hand or just pick someone.
Yep. I need to give them the microphone, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, is this on? Cool. Who would like to answer this question about ngRx store? There you go.
All right, so I've seen a lot of debate online about it because there's people that don't like Redux. I guess you heard about like last week or 2 weeks ago, like people hating Redux, others loving it. The truth is that Redux is not for every application. It's actually for large applications. So for me, it doesn't make too much sense to put it like in the core because not all applications are going to use it. So that's for like my side, yeah.
Do we have any speakers who believe it should be part of core? Who want to chime in on the other side of the conversation? I know Matthias really wants it in core, right? And you want to own it? Sonny, go ahead. I'm teasing you.
So sound smart. I haven't said anything yet. So I don't think it should be part of the core. But what I'm going to say is probably with the whole things about schematics and everything, maybe there should be a way where if you want it quickly, like it could just be added as a project, because if you're a large customer, you're making a large application from day one, you know how complex your app would be. I think we know that like putting NGRX into your application is not the easiest thing, especially if you have to lift an existing application and put it. It's not the easiest thing. But if we had like, I think the Narwhal guys have done something very similar. But if we could like take that path, then that way we still have the option. But it's not like, hey, if you really want it, you just do this. And I think that's probably a way to go about it.
I think it's a good perspective. How many of you remember UI router from AngularJS? Was that part of core? Did anybody stop using it because it wasn't part of core? Yes? All right, there you go.
We really stopped using UI router. We switched back to the AngularJS router when Angular came out because we wanted to be
When
able
Angular version 2 came out.
Version
But
2
I'm talking about AngularJS.
No, we switched back because we wanted to be easier. We thought it would be easier to upgrade.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the promise.
I think that's the key, right? I mean, aren't things more supported if they're part of Angular, Matthias? But I also worry about, personally, I worry about if we put everything in core, does that slow down the Angular team from keeping the things that are core already functional, maintained, more performant? The more things they take on, I worry that some things will get lapsed. You guys agree? Any other opinions? Who wants to disagree? I want somebody to disagree. It's no fun if somebody agrees. Come on. All right, do we have any questions from the crowd? We have a runner. Where's Andre? Andre wants to run. Run! I want you all to go back and forth across the room so Andre can show his Olympic speed.
Most of the time I would agree to listen to him, but not this time. Okay, question.
Thank you. So I saw only one speaker who were using code editor that was not VS Code.
Yes!
It was it was WebStorm. I'm using PHP Storm myself, and one of my friends who's a lead developer at a SaaS company told that he used VS Code, but it was too slow. He doesn't like Electron apps for that. So is VS Code slower than WebStorm or PHP Storm?
Eric, you like WebStorm?
I do.
Go for it.
I can't diss VS Code.
Because I'm standing behind you?
Yes. I'm very vulnerable right now. I've been using IntelliJ products for a long time, and when I'm building on Google infrastructure, I'm using VS Code because it hooks in nicely with the build infrastructure. But when I'm building up a local host, and I don't know, my preference is WebStorm for my local development. So I go both ways, but I will always prefer WebStorm.
Anybody else? Pass it back. Let me pass it back here. All right, who on stage likes WebStorm? Who likes VS Code? Some people like both.
I think amen is in his place now.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about. I just use WebStorm. I don't want to compare it with VS Code in terms of how fast it is. But I just want to say that at Angular Connect there were these JetBrains guys there, and they convinced me to use WebStorm. And I actually went back to Greece and I went to my boss and I told him I want WebStorm, and they bought it to me. So that's why I use it, and it's very cool.
Ward Bell had his hand up too. Go ahead.
I have just one question for you. Whoever saw Kara live coding in WebStorm knows how good it is, how fast you can be in WebStorm. Has anyone done better live coding than Kara in VS Code?
Nope.
Kara's just faster than everybody in the universe.
I've got nothing to say.
Nothing to say. So I'm going to give you, as I bring it over, my personal opinion. I've used WebStorm a lot. I used it for a couple of years. And I find them to be completely different products. I think VS Code is great for an editor, super fast. It's not slow. I'll just be very blunt. It's not slow. It's super fast, quick, and easy. But if you want more features, want more integration, more stuff to do, I kind of consider WebStorm more of an IDE, integrated development environment. It does more for you out of the box. So it depends what kind of developer you are, I think. To me, I'd use one or the other.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't really care, because some people like indexing, somebody not like indexing, long time indexing, yeah. And it's pretty personal. It's really, you want to ask somebody what kind of shoes he prefer and why.
Yeah, why?
It's just tool. So no matter, you can use Beam whatever you want.
Let's ask the real questions though. React or Angular? Vue.js, there you go. Any other comments on WebStorm VS Code? Yes. Let me get you back there too.
Yeah, it's a general one. I think in general it is really nice in the JavaScript community that we have choice. I'm doing a lot of .NET in the backend when I'm not programming Angular, and for a very long time we didn't have much choice when it comes to .NET in the backend. We had to take more or less Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio, but nowadays we have an ecosystem in the world of JavaScript, and we can use any tool we like. We can use the CLI at the command line, and the things that are generated with it work together with VS Code, with WebStorm, with VI, if you don't have the availability to fill hertz and something like this. So you have a huge ecosystem and you can choose what you want.
There's like no room. Here you go.
I think VS Code is great, but only one thing, it's auto-import. Auto-import is terrible now, and each time when I have strange error in Angular, it's first thing that I check whether it was all correct or it was imported somewhere from Node package Selenium or so.
Excuse me. All right, I think we've beaten that question pretty good.
But the quality shouldn't be responsible to your tools. So, right? No?
Well, you tell us. You're the expert.
So I did a long time. I used Notepad++. Or Notepad++. Is it right? Yeah. So
Notepad++.
It works for me very well. I used it for, I guess, around 5 years. And I used also NetBeans. I don't know if someone else know that. I used it for 8 years, so I'm still alive and everything's well.
When I was at Walt Disney World, there was one particular executive who said, we should make everybody every developer use the same editor. And we all looked at that person like, what are you, crazy? They're going to hate you, they're going to revolt. We took a poll and there were 15 different editors being used at the company. There was no predominant one. There were things coming out of the woodwork, like NetBeans was there, Eclipse, IntelliJ, WebStorm, Brackets, Atom, VS Code, Visual Studio, Vim, TextMate. Vim, yes. It's crazy. Why? Why not just do it all? Very cool. Good question. Andre, where are you going to run to next?
Close, I hope.
No, go far.
Hi.
Don't forget, John, that you have to choose the best question after all. The prize is Google Home Mini.
Ooh.
Not a raffle. This is not a raffle. This is competition. I want to ask you a question now.
This is a competition. You don't get to ask questions.
No, speakers.
Hi, my name is Pascal.
What's your question?
You can ask questions, but you don't take part in raffle.
So, you all do amazing stuff. You're producing content, blog, tutorials to help us get started and getting involved in the community. So my question is, what would you expect from the community? So, or what advice can you give to someone to get more involved into the community besides the obvious stuff like blogging or contributing to the Angular project? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Did you want to answer, or do you want some high fives?
Actually, high five and.
That's a great question. How can the community, what kind of advice do you have for the community?
So first things first, thank you very much for the positive feedback, because even though people assume that we all get like lots of very, very friendly, nice feedback from people, that's not always the case. A few people get a lot of chocolate ice cream. I'm trying to not swear on stage, so I'll say shh, ice.
I like chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, chocolate ice cream is brilliant. I'm meaning the kind of chocolate. Yes, let's say yellow snow. Does that help? Good. Okay.
Better.
There we go. So I'm going to an external length to not swear on stage anymore. So like that's actually my first thing here. Do not vomit on other people's work. People are investing time and time that they could spend with other things like families, friends, sleeping, eating, playing computer games, whatever. So people are making an effort to share something with you. Even if you disagree, feel free to give constructive feedback, but do not go like, oh yeah, whatever, framework X is so much better and you're such an idiot if you're not using it yet. So that's just not constructive, that's not leading anywhere, and I would love the community to stop that, to cut that out. The other thing is, I expect from the community to do what you can to support morally good causes and to not support morally problematic things. If you are excited about big data and machine learning, that's great. If you are being asked to write a database that stores and processes the ethnicity, sex or sexual orientation or religion from the entire population of your country, then that might be an exciting, interesting engineering problem, but it is terribly so. Like, you should not be doing that. Now, sure, a lot of us here are web developers, but that still is important that we keep this kind of stuff in mind. Yes, it's easy to gloss over accessibility. Yes, it's easy to not make something work with a keyboard or something like that. But please, please, please put in the additional effort to think of other people with slightly different needs and slightly different limitations than you. Look over the beyond Tellerrand. Look over the how's the idiom in English? Out of the box. Think out of the box. Think of other people and their their needs and their abilities, and try to help us make it better. If you see something, say something, and that's not only for counterterrorism. That's actually also for the community. If you see someone misbehaving or giving abuse towards someone else in the community, speak up. Yes, there's a person. Yes, there's a person going on stage and talking, but if you see someone from the audience misbehaving or giving them shit in front of other people or even in private, help them out.
Oh, swore.
Bummer.
Good, go ahead.
So what can you give back? What if you just attend the next meetup? Go there, go active. Maybe you do a talk on a meetup. Maybe you just go there and say hi or something, or contribute to your open source library, whatever. Just be more active. This is the way you can support the most, I guess. Right?
Oh, okay. And I think one thing, when we use the word contribution, I think a lot of people only, like, what I see is a lot of people just assume, you gotta be writing code or something like that. Contribution comes in different shapes and sizes. I'm involved in a lot of communities. I've never pushed any code. Do you know me? I'm lazy. Like, I would never push any code. There's people for that would do it, and they're great at it. But you can contribute in so many different ways, even if it just means, adding padding, or just going on GitHub and just answering people's questions, or on Stack Overflow. It's contribution. It's very, very useful too. So in any way you can, contribute.
There's another one. I remember that there was a library I liked a lot, and then I decided to go through a GitHub repository and fill an issue that said like, thanks, and a lot of hearts. Like, you've done a great job, this is a really cool library. And that was it. And there's a lot of people that started saying like, whoa, yeah, it's true, that's right, thanks. And the creator of the library was super happy about it. So there's actually, before the screens, there's only people that is actually us that care about like the work we do. So contributing is great, of course, and that'll be great, but also like be emotional about it and say like, hey, great job, good, well done.
Yeah. I mentioned this in a chat before that. if you look into code or look into the job, the work someone doing, you should behave like you visit him in his flat. You wouldn't go there and start shit talking about his floor, his cat, his whatever. You should be nice. That's it. What's the cat?
The cat. I really want to strongly second what Martin said about the harassment. Don't be the asshole in the room. Be the one who stands up and says, that was not good. And the second thing I want to add is, as Michael just said, attend at meetups or go to your local meetup and ask the organizers, can I help you? Because a lot of meetups struggle with not only having not enough speakers, but people organizing it. So if you really want to return something, go and help them. And it's a lot of fun.
And give them hugs.
I think one other important thing is if you're attending a talk and a session, and at the end of it, if there's time for QA and if you actually have a question, make sure you ask it. No one is going to judge you for whatever question you ask. If it is answerable, the speaker will answer it, or if it needs further discussion, it will be taken off stage. But it's not just about you asking the question and someone else having that question in mind. Also clears off that doubt, but it's for the speaker as well. It's a confirmation that the audience has listened to the talk and understood it very well, and people actually come up with doubts, right?
It's a great topic, great question so far. We have competition for a good question.
Next
Got a couple
one.
others? Okay, I'm going to cut it off so we can move on, so we can get some other questions in. We only have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, hey. I would like to ask if there is something you hate or dislike very much about Angular, and if there is something maybe you try to avoid it or replace it with something else, or you can talk more about it.
And remember, one of the team members is here to listen to you. Who hates something about Angular? Who hates something about Angular or dislikes something gently in all kindness and love?
Hello.
I'll stand in front of you.
You want to take that? Take it away. Oh, okay. So, yeah, there's not really something I would say that I really hate, but it just happened. I think I've quite often I've experienced that there's some things in the platform, in the Angular platform, that are not always very clear at the beginning. So there's just some, sometimes, when there's new people starting with this platform and they, should build their first app, and then there's all these things they have to take a look at, like what's an ng module? Oh, components I can get, but what's an ng module, right? And then, you have all this dependency injection decorators and whatnot. I think while there's a lot of power in Angular and a lot of buttons that we can push to make things cool and shape it the way we want it, it unfortunately comes with the side effect of maybe introducing a little bit of complexity for people that are starting out. So there's often things on the surface of Angular that are not necessarily needed to be there, I guess, for people that are starting out. So I think that's maybe something that I would like to see TS in the future. If that's something maybe we can tackle in some way, that it's communicated, that it's clear that why does that particular thing exist, and do I actually really have to know about it at this point or not? I think, does that make sense what I'm saying here? Oh, thank you.
Alyssa, did I hear you calling out? Go for it.
Funny, because mine was exactly like Pascal's. It was the learning curve that some things can have, and I think I guess it kind of goes with the community thing. What I try to do is, as I learn something new in Angular, I try my best to do something like a blog post or a YouTube video about it, or even just like showing a friend, hey, did you know this? Because I know how painful sometimes things can be when you're starting off. And so I think, we might not be able to rewrite the docs in a day, but we can sure make a blog post. So the learning curve is, yeah.
There's one thing that I don't necessarily hate, but that makes me nervous a bit, and it's not specific to Angular, unfortunately. It is most of the frameworks and tools that we're having right now. We start to obsess for them, and that's, I think, is a dangerous thing. To make an analogy, it's like saying, oh my god, the hammer is the best tool ever, and I'm totally going to use it to cut down that tree. It's like, because it's the... and what I'm trying to say is Angular is an amazing tool, and so are React, Vue.js, Polymer, vanilla JavaScript, whatever you've got, depending on what you're trying to do. Maybe even native code if you're trying to do something very specific for very specific devices. Don't get yourself too blind for what's happening elsewhere and on the platform. Do look out of the box, think outside of the box. Do think, what tool can I use? What tool can I try out for this particular thing? What tool tries to be great for this particular purpose that I'm trying to use, or the problem I'm trying to solve? Don't think there's one size fits all magic solutions that fix all your problems in the best possible way. I'm sure Angular can be pushed and bent and inflated to fit all sorts of problems, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily the best thing to do that. Try to look elsewhere for new ideas, for new perspectives, and for new tooling. Do not become an Angular developer, become a developer that solves problems using software.
Good advice. Cool. We had another question out there? Left or right? Let's get some back people next. Who's in the back? The lady over here. Wonderful.
First of all, thank you for the awesome conference. It was really awesome to hear all those amazing talks. And sorry for another slightly pessimistic question. I did actually want to ask about tabs versus spaces, but I will not do that. But in a lot of giant projects, and Angular is giant right now, kind of tend to fall into one of two paths. One is feature creep, when they keep growing and growing and growing and kind of become untenable. And on the other way, on the other hand, we have stagnation and kind of stopping development and stopping corresponding to the needs of users. So, and right now Angular is obviously quickly moving forward and obviously gaining new awesome features like IAV elements and a lot of stuff that you talk about. But in a longer perspective, what do you think is the fate of Angular?
The fate of Angular. We need some music. Dum, dum, dum. What does everybody think the fate of Angular is? Our soothsayer.
Yeah, it's a difficult question because no one of us can say what the future will bring. But we can look back and we can see that AngularJS 1 was there for about 10 years. And now it's entering a long time support period. And we can also see that Angular beginning with version 2, let's say Angular, is much broader when it comes to the architecture. And because of this, I would say it will be here and it will be one of the major frameworks for at least the next 10 years. It will be at least here for the amount of time the predecessor AngularJS 1 was here.
The guy who did a last 5 years with Angular talk, maybe you want to add a minute?
So think about jQuery and think about the ability to select elements with a CSS selector. That didn't exist in the DOM, that didn't exist in browsers, but then they adopted it because it was a very commonly used tool. So to be very optimistic, the fate of Angular will be all of Angular's features being adopted in the browser. And, and then Angular won't be necessary anymore.
That's exactly what I wanted you to say. I think that it's doomed, okay? The fate of Angular is extinction. It is only a question of when. And ideally, it's soon.
You know in movies when you have the angel and the devil on one shoulder? That's us right here.
It's great.
But no sooner than every other framework.
Won't end before any other framework.
They're all going down together.
They're all going down together. Fantastic. All right, we had a question back here.
Hey, first of all, congrats on all the amazing work that you've done here and the amazing presentations that you had. Question, considering that you're somewhat experts or teachers, seeing that you're up there, what is one thing that you took away from these 2 days, or one thing that you learned from each other or the community?
Well, I took away Ward's wallet when he wasn't looking. Anybody else?
I'm coming back to the community. It's always great to be on conferences like that because you see a lot of community, you have a lot of talks about community, not only with the people up on the stage, but also with the audience. And I really, really love it to see the community being part of this. So yeah, that is what I like and love about it. And I learned a lot about how people see community in various ways, like asking questions like that.
Let me get this. One more thing. Well, we do often workshops, and if you explain something and the audience did not understand your explanation, it's not the problem of the audience, it's the problem how you explain it. So whenever I try to explain something, even if it is a talk or not, I learned that it is very important to adapt to the audience and not to your knowledge skill. So if they don't understand you, it's not their problem, it's your problem, because you explained it in the wrong way. This is what I get out of this, trying to explain it better to the audience, and the problem is on our side and not on the audience side.
I think we all learn better when you can explain something to somebody else, that's when you really understand it.
Yeah, it's exactly what I want to do, what I want to say. Very often I listen to very basic talks because of getting new idea, new wordings for things I'm teaching for years. So I'm doing workshops for, I guess, 5 years, and I'm still learning about stuff, how to explain. So it's awesome to get some new stuff and some new wordings and some new ideas to get into topics and explaining to the attendees of the workshops. So yeah, this is something I learn every time and on every meetup and conference.
Just a quick thing. What I get from these conferences in the community is I am inspired. I'm inspired by individual people's stories. And that's how I first thought that I should go to such a conference, because I was watching YouTube videos of such talks and I was inspired by the stories. And being here, even in this conference, I'm inspired by other people's stories. And I think, oh, I should do that, or wow. So yes, that's what I get inspiration.
If I could say something really quickly, this was actually another speaker that said this earlier, and I can't remember who it is, and if it's one of you, I'm sorry, but I'm going to steal it. So somebody said this week that you have multiple teachers that will teach you something in a different way. So it's like looking at it in multiple, like a faceted view of a certain subject, because everybody learns things differently. And so it was very awesome for me to hear, because a lot of us cover the same topic sometimes. But it's also, I think, good to remember, if you want to learn something, you have multiple speakers to look to learn it from, because if you don't get it the first time, you have many people who will teach you in a different way, and I think that's a really great way to look at things.
Good point, Tara.
Well, one thing it's like
like Katarina says, you get inspired and stuff like that. And sometimes you get inspired if you just watch some videos from YouTube. But the difference for me is kind of like the energy that you get when you actually go to a conference and talk to other people. It's like when I go home from a conference, I'm like full of ideas. I want to try new stuff and write code and experiment and stuff like that. So it's totally different kind of thing if you just watch a YouTube video. You can still learn stuff, but I get lots of energy from attending these conferences.
Good answer. So I'm told that we have time for one more question. I'm actually going to steal the question because it's something that Max and I talked about a little. And I want to set this up for all the speakers and for the attendees as well. We look around the room for a minute and look at all the people that you see. A lot of us look the same. A lot of us are the same race, color, preferences, everything. One of the problems we have in our industry is we have a lot of unintentional biases. We don't even know it. Ward, my friend, reminded me yesterday of some that I had, and it was a good lesson for me. Things we don't even think about, and we exclude people who are not like us. I'm a 40-year-old white man. Actually 45. But I'm one of the privileged people. I'm the common, the majority. There are women, there are lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer. There's people of color, people of other nationalities and cultures who have a difficult time getting into our industry. And it's not because we're stopping them physically, it's because of the things that we do or say that make them uncomfortable at times. And I've learned more and more about this over the last year, more than I ever thought I could. And I'm curious, what do you all feel like we could do as leaders of the community to help bring more of these people in? Because we are crippled, in my opinion, by only having the 40-year-old or 30-year-old white males. No. You have to speak now, Sandy, since you hugged me. What? All right, I'll give it to Lisa. Go. Pass it down.
Oh, you want.
You go first.
Well, see, there's a great gesture right there.
I just want to say that I was actually looking around yesterday, and there were like 5 women in front of me because I was in this room, and I was like, yeah, boy, like, because it keeps growing, and I do see a change. And another thing is that I felt so welcome at this conference, and I've gone to ones that I didn't, but I don't know if it was just because certain people in the room made an effort to talk to me, but I wasn't treated differently, and I was included in conversations, and I actually noticed when a couple guys saw me standing alone and made a point to talk to me. And it's just things like that it makes such a huge difference, because even like I get on stage, right? I've got 12 more conferences this year to talk to, and yet I'm still intimidated to walk up to a group of guys sometimes. And it's stupid, and I shouldn't be, but it made such a difference when one of them would be like, oh, hey, and like just started talking to me. And that's all it took to feel welcome. So I think at least at this conference, they're doing a good job of it.
I think Max and Sherry have done a great job this conference.
So yeah, as one of these like middle-aged white guys.
But I like your haircut.
Yeah.
You have a great haircut.
Me too.
Yeah.
And yeah. So what I'm gonna say is gonna hurt you, but trust me, I still love you.
Okay.
It's okay. So one thing that I've personally kind of made a point of is that when you're choosing like workplaces or teams or in general like, you know, places where you do stuff. So try to go into environments that are not made up just of you. So like, for example, I usually, when I look at like a company, I pull up their like person's page or like who's working there. And unfortunately, if it's all like guys that look like us, then I start feeling like, is that really the environment that I want to work in? Like, it's really comfortable.
Nobody wants to work with me.
Yeah, so like, I think one thing that us who are the sort of the status quo, that we can actively go out and seek someone else who is not like us.
And Sherry had a comment down here. I'm going to run behind. I want to ask a quick question too. Something I saw yesterday from a person on my team, Sarah Drasner. She is a Vue.js expert in the industry. Phenomenal. She tweeted, she's at a conference right now, yesterday, and somebody asked her whose girlfriend she was. How awful. To just assume that she isn't smart and capable. These are things we don't have to deal with as men, so these are just comments we shouldn't be making.
Yeah, the thing that I wanted to add is that, there are many community leaders are here. A lot of meetup organizers are here. One of the things is that I talked with someone else this morning that I mentioned that if we want to have a diverse meetup, if we want to change all of these things, we have to have a diverse group of organizers. So if you look at all your other organizers that they all are, for example, guys or whatever, just bring more other organizers on board. Because, if you want to make a safe environment for all the people to attend, you all come from if you have a diverse group, then you all come from different backgrounds. Then, for example, the very small thing, I'm vegan. So I always think that I want to have all people to come to my meetup to have for example, vegan food. But if you are not, then you just unconsciously forget about all of these things. So we forgot a lot of minorities that when you come to your meetup, then they don't feel safe. But by having a diverse group of organizers, you will always try to include everyone, to have a kind of a good time on your meetup. So to me, it's a very basic thing to have a diverse group if you want to make a safe environment for everybody to be part of your group.
Good point. It's behind you.
First of all, everything that I think everybody has said is wonderful. And unlike John, as I could say, maybe I qualify into the group of people that John was sort of talking about, and I can only tell you about my own experience. I feel like if you're from one of these underrepresented groups and you want to get involved, and sometimes it can be quite difficult, especially when you look up and you don't necessarily see your own representation. One thing I will say is make the effort to be that person that gets there to actually show that the next person would feel very comfortable. And I say this because I've had to work that path. I have every single thing in the book. I'm Nigerian, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. Trust me, going to conferences as a speaker, sometimes I don't see people like myself or something like that, but it still doesn't stop me. I always say take the reins, try to do that thing that maybe you are not comfortable with, or go to that place that you're not comfortable, so that the next person like you will feel comfortable. And then that's how we can do all these things about diversity, but participation is very important. The people that are that are in these communities also need to sort of take the reins and really be that one person or the first 2 or 10, so that the next people will feel more comfortable. I think that's really important as well. So, who's next?
I have a short thing. More of an advice to myself and everybody who's like Papa said, like John said, like me. Sorry. You reminded me of my dad.
Old man joke right there.
Okay.
I feel very excluded.
Back on track, please. I have a gender-neutral Twitter account, so there's no picture of me. There's nothing that tells anyone if I'm male or female. And there are a lot of people out there that do not know that I'm male, mid-30, and white. And I got a lot of mansplaining on Twitter. And if you do that, if you're white, if you're male, especially if you're male, think about, do you mansplain to anyone else? That's kind of what Sarah experienced. Don't do that.
Yeah. Katerina? Well, actually, Mark. Go ahead. Yes. Well, actually, you're wrong. Yes. Go for it.
Yes, what I wanted to say is that in Greece, I mean, I suppose in a lot of countries, but in Greece too, because it's a bit less civilized than some other countries. Sorry about that, but okay. Yeah, there are not a lot of women developers, and there is a lot of sexism. That's why I said not so civilized, don't get me wrong. There is a lot of sexism in Greece, and it's happened to me a lot in my workplace, that I'm the only woman developer, or I'm the only woman developer in a group of men developers. And at one time, at one job I was being respected as an individual, but my opinion didn't count. It was like, by default, Katarina doesn't know. This was very frustrating. In another job I was, my opinion did count. They did value my opinion as a developer, but they were very sexist about me being a woman. Like, they would say that, okay, I think women are better at the kitchen, you're an exception that you're a developer, but generally women are good at the kitchen. Or, yeah.
I can cook. All right, man.
Yeah, so give the women a break, first thing. And secondly, just hire more women to your teams. Women know, but not because they're women, because we're people, we're individuals, and each one has their own specialty and each one has their own skills. So yeah, just don't do that. Don't pick out on women.
Don't be that asshole that makes those jokes. Be the one that stands up and says that was not correct.
Yeah, Matthias.
We'll end it after you.
So this is more in line with being an expert versus being a beginner. So in an effort to make other people feel comfortable, we're all speakers, we're all experts in this field. And what I will say is that there are people in the audience who, might be intimidated to talk to us. So when it comes to a conference and feeling to get people more included into the conversation, be humble and always give the space for people to explain themselves and listen to them really carefully and deeply and provide feedback. And don't always feel like, oh, I don't have time for this. I have to go somewhere. Always make an effort. That's what I'll say.
Thanks. Yep, very, very well said. Cool. And we're going to give away something, but the last tip I'm going to give, just to wrap this up, and I appreciate everybody here. I'd like to give a big round of applause to everybody here. You don't have to stand up or anything. If you feel different, you're an underrepresented group, I just want to give everybody an applause for who's being here, whether you're in attendance or as a speaker, for doing a great job this week.